Are you burnt out from restaurant life? I was too. Here's how I got out of the restaurant grind, built a personal chef business from scratch. I gave myself more freedom and a better quality of life overall. For those of you that are new here, my name is Ron Dutes. I've been in the culinary industry for over 24 years. The better part of that, I've been a chef in high volume restaurants in New York City. In this video, I'm gonna give you the rundown of my personal journey into the restaurant industry and out of it into the personal chef industry. Everything mainly began when I was 16 years old. My high school offered a program where you can go learn a trade at the end of your school day, like the last 4 periods of your school day. So if the school day ends at 3, I chose to learn the basics in the last 4 periods of my day of culinary arts from the culinary arts program they offered in my high school. So that's how I got into it. I was just lazy. I was a lazy teenager looking for the easy thing to do. It sounded great to bake and eat for the last 4 periods of my school day instead of go to math or English. So that gave me my first taste of the restaurant industry. I took a liking to it. I really enjoyed it. I loved creating new dishes, and it seemed like a fun way to spend my time, and I really enjoyed learning more about the technical skills needed to cook. After doing that for 2 years, I decided to go to culinary school. I ended up going to Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island. It was a great experience. And that's where I got my first line cook job at Legal Seafoods as a fry cook. After culinary school, I returned back to New York. I wanted to make sure I received a well-rounded background in restaurants. I knew that from early on that I wanted to make sure to do that. So I made sure to strategically choose places where I can learn how to be corporate smart and then also how to be restaurant smart. Being corporate smart is more about managing people, managing the finances and the cost of the business, and strategically planning so that you can be as efficient a business as possible. So menu psychology, menu work, how to plan a menu. Being restaurant smart is knowing how to write a menu so guests want to eat that food and order that food and want to come back to try something they couldn't try this time. The more detailed side of serving guests, the finer touch of providing guests an experience. That's all restaurant smart. So yeah, I worked in many restaurants over the next 15 years after culinary school. Eventually, I opened my own restaurant called Fat Boys Kitchen and Bar. It was a comfort food. At the time, I was 400 pounds. I was stressed out from the grind of working 14, 16, 18-hour shifts. I wasn't taking care of myself because I was so focused on doing a good job, what the restaurant needs, rather than providing from what I needed for myself. So I had a business partner at Fat Boys Kitchen and Bar. It was somebody I didn't know very well. That was another lesson I learned about business. But either way, after about 4 years, I decided to move on from Fat Boys Kitchen and Bar for reasons we'll get into in another video. But I decided to move on from Fat Boys Kitchen and Bar. I knew I wanted to make a change. So at that time, I was actually also going through a breakup, and I was a little sad. My sister was actually visiting Mexico City for about a month. She was spending a month here in Mexico City, and she knew I was sad because I was leaving my business. So she suggested I take a little vacation to here in Mexico City. Here in Mexico City, I spent the most wonderful 2 weeks, and in those 2 weeks, I decided to move here. I knew that I had to figure out what I was going to do here to make some income. At first, I attempted to get a sales job, any remote job, customer service, sales. It was really hard for me to get an interview, as you can imagine, because my restaurant industry, I was in the culinary industry, which gave me some experience, but none of it was remote. So that was kind of new to me. So I found it hard to get a job. And then I realized, that it really wasn't for me, and that I should use the skills that I've been honing for the last 24 years in order to make income. I just figured that was my best move. So on the side, I started to create a supper club. When I moved here, I looked for a space that I could potentially do a supper club at. So I decided to open my own, which is just like a secret restaurant in your apartment. We began selling tickets and doing public events, so events that were open to the public. So I promoted these events on Instagram, Facebook, all the WhatsApp groups. So this is kind of how I started to get my name out there. It was really good. It was like a really great experience. After running this for a little bit, I realized that people began hiring me for private events. I realized the difference in the supper club events and the private events. The private events came to me. I didn't have to go find 14 people to buy tickets, right? Private events, I have 14 friends. We'd love to get together. Are you able to put together a beautiful menu for us? Absolutely we can. So after realizing that supper club was a little bit more of a grind and kind of up in the air, and I never knew what my income was gonna be, after realizing that, put a stop and switch to a completely private model. So anyway, that's how I started to do the private events. And then eventually I saw shortly after doing them, I saw how much more lucrative that was, significantly more lucrative than working in a restaurant. And that's how I started building a personal chef business. So just to recap, I learned the basics of cooking in high school. And then I started my way up working as a line cook after that, and then worked my way into management, began running restaurants, eventually opened my own restaurant. And I just wanted a change. I was burnt out, moved to Mexico City, decided to open up a supper club, which quickly transformed into personal chef business. Just to show you, I'm just a regular guy who started working in restaurants, was killing myself, working 80 hours a week. And I was able to get out with the knowledge I've learned over the past years working in restaurants to start a successful personal chef business in another country, speaking another language. So if I can do that, then you can definitely do it. Comment below, what's the biggest thing stopping you from becoming a personal chef? Thanks for watching. Subscribe and stay tuned if you want to see more videos like this. All right, something fucking like that.